Hello and welcome once again to M&A Ambassadors, becoming the USP, the ultimate sales professional. Now, in the previous video, we looked at a few techniques and approaches to creating conscious rapport. Today, I want to talk about how to build unconscious rapport. Now, unconscious rapport is actually the more powerful of the two. You see, with conscious rapport, it's just those few things that you focus on and those questions that we talked about in the previous video. And that's done quick and early in the presentations, in your meetings. Unconscious rapport is something that you are doing all the time from the moment you start your engagement all the way through to closing. So it has a constant reinforcing influence on how the meeting will go ahead. Now, what do we mean when we say unconscious rapport? We will be working with patterned behavior. You see, all humans are creatures of unconscious pattern. Now, what does this mean? We all have developed patterns, certain ways of thinking, certain ways of processing information, certain ways of communicating that information back, and also certain ways of making decisions. And we have developed a pattern which is unconscious. Now, what this means is a client would not be able to hide this pattern from you. They will hide the words that they are saying. They will hide answers. They will selectively choose these words. But the tonality and the patterns that they will use will quickly reveal who they are. And because it's unconscious, they cannot detect it. These patterns are very recognizable, and you can predict the behavior of the client based on this. It allows you to have subtle influence on the entire selling process. Now, what would be some advantages of knowing how to build unconscious rapport? The first is it completely destroys the resistance in the mind of the client, whether buyer or seller. The prospect's resistance is destroyed when you build unconscious rapport. The second advantage, it allows you to close the deals faster. People begin to trust you better, and therefore they reach the decisions much faster. It also allows you to improve on the quality of your deals, that is the value that people will commit in their investments. We already know that when people tell you I have 5 million, they probably have 30 million in the bank. But how will you get access to that? It's only when they can trust you. So it closes the deals faster, it reduces the resistance, but it also increases the value of the deals. Also, what unconscious rapport does for you is it manages buyer's remorse. That feeling of doubt or regret that people start feeling closer to signing the check and right after the deal. When they trust you enough, you will be able to manage the buyer's remorse. And if you can manage the buyer's remorse, then it also means that the quality of the referral generations will become very good. And that's what you want to work with, because high quality referrals are easier to talk to, they are half sold already, and it just makes your whole process a lot more effective. And over all of these, the singular benefit of being able to control and influence the sales conversation. So how do you create unconscious rapport? There are several techniques which I will cover over the next few videos. So some of them are using a left brain, right brain approach, using third-party approaches, positive language, framing and structuring of sentences and questions. Each of these, open body language is another one, not just open, positive body language that influences the client to think positively about what you're doing. So there are several techniques under each of these categories. Let me give you an example of one technique in this video, and in the future videos we will talk about each of these techniques in detail. If I have time, I'll probably give you two today. Now, we know that left brain people are logical, thinking, rational kind of buyers and sellers. They process based on how they think about what you're saying. So if you really want to engage them, you want to use language that will cause them to think. Similarly, right brain people are feeling type of people. They process the information based on how they feel when they're listening to you. They process based on relationships. Who are the other people involved in these kind of investments? Who are the other type of people living in that kind of community? So it's always about relationship, emotions, and feelings. So you want to use language that will cause them to feel in a particular way. When we do the positive framing of sentences and questions, we will look at that again. But here's one example. Let's say I've been talking to a client and the client is right brain. We know that everything that's going on in their head, good or otherwise, is creating feelings within them. And I want to know about those feelings. So the most effective way to get feedback from a right brain person would be to ask, so how do you feel about what I just said? You can even take the name of the person. So John, how did you feel about what I said? Because if I ask them, what did you think about what I said, would be a problem. Because they were not thinking, they were feeling. So if you want to get good, accurate feedback where the client is involved in what he's saying, which by the way builds relationship, then you want to ask a feeling-based question. So John, how do you feel about this particular opportunity? If it was a left brain person who you know is logical and thinking, I would change the question. And the question would simply be, so John, what do you think about what I just said? Now, when you are answering objections, if it was a right brain person, you could say something like, John, I know how you feel. Some of my best clients initially felt the same. Here's what they discovered. So I'm using feeling-based words to engage the client and create the influence. The same thing if I had to say to a left brain client, I'll say, John, I know what you're thinking. In fact, many of our investors were thinking the same. Here's what they discovered. So you see, I'm getting to the same point, but I'm using a completely different approach. And because left brain people are thinkers, when you use that kind of language, they are more open to connecting with you. Right brain people, being feelers, are more connected when you say, I know how you feel. Two very simple techniques. I'll give you many more in the videos to come. I hope you are able to use these when you're speaking with your clients. Logical thinkers go thinking words. Feelers go emotion and feeling. Now today I've just shared with you two simple examples. I would like you to try these techniques and see how they work for you. I will give you a lot more techniques in the videos to come, but practice them and then use them and help close deals. I want to thank you for your time with us on M&A Ambassadors, Becoming the USP, the Ultimate Sales Professional.